Okay, good morning. My name is Delgado, and this is my wife Samantha Delgado. And I'm gonna let you know a little bit about my story before turning point and after turning point. Um, Before turning point, I was a entrepreneur, living to support my family. So I thought, um, living the life of just the streets and having 4 or 5 different masks on, different faces on. I was at home. I was a husband, and in the streets, I was somebody from the streets. I came to a turning point because I was addicted to a drug, marijuana. I smoked marijuana for over 22 years every day of my life, and I heard that you could never get addicted to marijuana because it was a natural drug. But I found out that it was a lie, that anything that you do too much or anything that you put first before your priorities is an addiction. So after hitting the wall a couple of times last year and being separated from my wife and my family because of things that I was doing in the streets, I decided to find help. And I called around to look for places, and it was hard because a lot of people did not give me an opportunity because of the drug and because of the way it's changing in the United States now that it's getting legalized in different states and stuff. They didn't want to give me help. They wanted me to pay for it, but they didn't want to give me help. So one day I was speaking to my wife after I called and went to everywhere and made excuses, like every addict does, excuses of, no, look, that it's not a drug. They're telling me that it's a choice. That marijuana is not an addiction, it's a choice. And I asked myself that anything that you do, any drug that you do, it is a choice. It's not an addiction. The more you do it, the more you get addicted to it. So I hit a wall, and finally I asked my wife, we were separated at the time, if she knew anybody that could help. And she told me for me to go out there and find help myself first, and I did. But I didn't find anybody that could help. And everybody else wanted 19, 20,000, whatever they wanted for me to go to the program that wasn't Christian based, and it was just I was just a number. So I called her and she got me help. She got a young lady named Jan that heard about a program named called Turning Point. And it took me months to call this young lady. I made every excuse in the book to pick up the phone and call. And my wife used to ask me, did I call? And I would say yes, I'm just waiting for her to call me. And I did the same thing with the intake coordinator. I called her more than 4 times. But like an addict, you put your drug before you put anything else, your priorities. So I hung up. Every time you try to pick up the phone, I hung up, and all you see in the caller ID is Louis Delgado. My wife used to ask me, have you called? And I said, yeah. I'm waiting for them to call me to go to rehab. So it's hilarious to me right now when I think about it, because it was just the way of life, the culture that I had, the mentality that I had of being an addict. So I did. I finally hit the December 31st. I hit a wall, big wall. And it was either my life or either I was going to be dead or I was going to live. And I decided to live, so I came to Turning Point. And it was the best decision I've made in my life. It's a Christian-based organization that shows a lot of love when you walk in here. The first day in Turning Point, I still didn't want to come. So I smoked my last 2 blunts out there in the parking lot. I went inside the intake coordinator's office, higher than a kite, still telling myself, the enemy was still speaking to me and telling me that, you just smoke weed, that there's nothing wrong with it, that, what are you doing here? And I came in and I saw a bunch of guys just like me, addicts, but I was the only one here for marijuana. So it took me a couple of days. It took God a couple of days to smack me in the face and tell me that I am an addict. I sat down and I got to meet all the guys here, and I met a couple of young kids, 21 years old, 25 years old, that had 2 or 3 overdoses and heroin and addicted to heroin and pills and things that I was like, wow, I've never thought the epidemic was so bad. And within 4 days, God just transformed me, and I admitted that I was an addict and I needed help. And just the guy's testimonies really set me free from what the enemy was trying to tell me, that I was okay, and I wasn't okay. So I went all in. From the beginning, I went all in. Yeah, the first day was hard, but it was the first time I rested in probably 2 years that I really slept all night. I went to sleep at 6:30 that night, the first day I got here, and I didn't wake up till 7 o'clock in the morning. I felt peace, peace that I haven't felt in a long time. So I gave it all in. I went all in. I started doing the program, and from day one, and we have homework to do, and we have Bible studies, and I got myself into a group of guys that we were studying the Bible and learning more about the Word of God and what God thinks about me. And he just gave me a different perspective of life, and I thank this program for it. So the first month, I was going to church, and I was really just concentrating on myself. That first day that I was dropped off here, that first weekend, my wife came to visit. The first time in a long time that we've even been together in the same room. And they had an intake meeting going on of just the new intakes, and they wanted to tell the family members of how it runs and stuff like that. And I felt so abandoned. I thought I was abandoned, but my wife is here, the one that we didn't even have a relationship at this time. It was basically she fought through everything that I was doing in the past to continue to fight for her marriage. And so I was full of jealousy and envy, and because she's in this meeting instead of being with me, walking around walking around this place. And so she didn't even stay an hour, because after she got out of the meeting, I gave her attitude the whole time, showing her the place, and she didn't stay here for over an hour, which God really smacked me in the face. And I called her up, and I apologized for it, and it just went uphill from there. I mean, I just gave it all to him. I said, God, there's nothing that I could do that I haven't done to mess it up more than I already messed up. So we're going to start blank page, and you're going to show me what you have for me. And I'm telling you, he did. I mean, he is incredible. The way this program works is that they don't push God on you like other places go. When you go to church, they want to push God on you and things like that. This program is just a program that either you're going to receive what you're learning, and God's just going to push himself on you, or you're just going to continue to disobey and push it to the side, and you're going to feel that he's there, but he's not. He gives you free will, the will for you to choose. So, and I did. I continued to just choose him. And my first month here, I started growing in him, and I just spent a lot of time in the chapel. They have a chapel here it's a little chapel. You got 70 hours of free time here, basically. You do your homework, you do your chores, and you clean up the place, and you just take care of this place the way like it was your home. It shows you responsibility. It shows you how to care for things again. Because when we're living the life of the world, we don't care for ourselves. So why should we care about anything else? So I started building that they started building that foundation again. I'm prior military, so in the military I used to do all of that, but I lost. But so it came back to me, and my free time I used to go up to the chapel and just worship, and it was my time. While other people were doing weights or playing basketball, you could find me in the kitchen, in my room, or in the chapel, and getting to know him, just getting closer to him. My first month here was a 21 days of prayer in Highlands, and I've been going to Highlands for the last 3 years before coming here, and I gave it a chance. I used to go, but I never went all in. I never really gave it a chance. I'll do 15 out of the 21 days. I'll do 10 out of the 21 days. And I think I was fixed. But this time I did the whole 21 days, and and I continue to do it. I did it all the way till I left. So I did 90 days, and to this day, I still have my 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever I can. I don't have hours like I used to have, but I do take time to just keep seeking Him and let Him speak. Let God speak to me and continue to mold me to the person that He wants me to be. So the first month that I was here, I did the 21 days of prayer, and God started speaking to me, and I started worshiping, and I started giving sermons. My second month here, I was already giving sermons in the chapel that He put in my heart and placed in my heart to talk to these men and tell them what He was speaking through me, for I could speak to them. And I mean, it just started growing from there, and I started loving men. I mean, however that sounds, I started loving His people. How broken they are. We're broken, we're all broken. And He just changed my heart to love these men and to walk in community with these men. And it was an awesome experience. It still is, you know. I'll cherish this place for the rest of my life because it changed my life. I graduated a month ago, and I have a different perspective in life, everything in life. I enjoy to just wake up in the morning and see the sun. You know, that I used to take that for granted, or just breathe. You know, I have found not to get angry the way I used to be, and really just depend on what he says and what he does for me to follow, instead of me leading like I used to. I wanted to lead and take control of every situation, and I found out that He has a purpose and a plan way bigger than mine. So now, before even turning 20, the first few months, I gave it everything. The last month, I prayed for purpose, and I asked Him, God, you know, it's my last month here, and I want You to tell me what I'm going to do after I leave this place. So my last day here, I remember the guys telling me, Louis, what you going to do? And I used to tell the guys, I don't know. It's still blank. I'm just hoping He opens doors, which He has. He put in my heart to start a ministry. We're going to start a ministry soon. We call 3-in-1 Ministries, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm the first Puerto Rican to come through these doors in a long time, minority, when it comes to the Latin community. And about 2 weeks before graduation, I went to Pastor Dave, and I told him that I was thinking about doing a Spanish ministry similar to this one, that God has placed in my heart to be a pastor of some sort. So in August, my heart is going to start going to Church of the Highlands to be an associate pastor in August, but the direction that God is putting me in is for ministry, some type of ministry, and it's the calling of this type of ministry. It pulls. I've heard pastor says that your purpose is whatever pulls your heart. What makes you sob? What makes you cry? And you know, I have 5 kids. They make me cry. The love I got for them. But then, when I think about addiction and people that are addicts, and knowing that they're just wasting their life, that they have family, they have kids, they have families that care for them, and they just don't know. They're blind. We get blind. The enemy blinds us when we're in addiction. It just pulls my heart. So God has put in my heart to start a ministry for the Hispanic community, but not only the Hispanic community, minorities, period. Because we especially here in the state of Alabama, we don't have that option. We don't have an option of either. Here's help for you. You do a 90-day program, you do a year program, and we'll drop charges, or we'll do it, similar to the court option is either you get locked up, especially the Hispanic community here, you get locked up, you pay this fine, or you're going back home. So I want to open up a place that I can give my community that option. An option of, hey, we got help for you, and that help is not only coming through the laws or the civil laws, but the help is Jesus Christ. That's all. Everybody that's in an addict is missing something. And we're missing Jesus Christ. That's what we're missing. We're missing that. He loves us first, even when he didn't know us. We're missing that. No matter about our father figures, because a lot of people that are addicts is because they have that influence with their fathers or their mothers or their parents or uncles or whoever. It's usually family involved. Knowing that we have a father that he doesn't care what we do or what we have done, his love doesn't change for us. And we have to find, or I want to help them find that that way, that go-to guy, which is Jesus Christ. You see, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a preacher, I don't know theology, I basically don't know too much English. But he uses people like me to do his work. So that's where we're putting it right now. We're gonna do a ministry. We used to be restaurant owners. I had one of the best restaurants in the state of Alabama. I had the only Puerto Rican Cuban restaurant in the state of Alabama for a long time. And I fell in love with the restaurant business. But I fell in love with it for my plans. And God has called me to do something similar to that. But whenever I do open up the restaurant again, it's going to be for him. It's going to be for the ministry. We're going to put guys to work after they graduate our ministry. They're going to go to work in the ministry. We're thinking about opening up we've always thought about opening up a thrift store, secondhand store. We always thought about it. So if we end up going that route, it's going to be a place for the guys to find work. That when they graduate, they could go to work. You see, so everything that we're doing now, we're doing it God-centered, not Lewis or Samantha centered, or basically Lewis centered like I used to do. It was all for me. And the number one thing I found of Turning Point is the love, how they receive you here. They receive you with love. They receive you, they show you the love, they just met you today, but their doors are open for whatever you need, whatever necessities, whatever. I'd never, the first 3 weeks here, I didn't have $1 in my pocket. And now there's a man that's telling me that I had to work all the time. I was a workaholic. The first week here, I was like, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, I gotta pay bills. But look, I was homeless for the last 5 months of last year. But my mindset was that I had to go to work, and I didn't have nowhere to work. I didn't have nowhere to go. And here, I mean, everything was provided for me, and it just gave me peace. It little by little gave me peace. So I love what Turning Point has done for me. It's gonna be rooted in my life, in my heart for a long time, and it's just it has opened up doors for me and my wife to do a lot more, and it just gave us a foundation of how to do it. You see, so that's what I love about Turning Point.
So I'll back up a few months ago. I just had to make some really tough decisions for my family. After fighting for my marriage in any way that I knew that I could do before actually saying this is it, this is the last straw. I had to ask him to leave and go to the streets. He didn't have a place to live, he didn't have a job, he didn't have anything, but he was endangering our family with his behavior and his addiction, and was not being honest or real. So the toughest thing that I had to do is love him well, in a way that some people may not be able to understand. After a few months, I just said, I'm not going to consider moving forward in this marriage if you don't complete a rehab program. You're going to have to do it if you want to stay in this marriage. I wasn't planning on divorce. I never even threatened divorce. I wasn't going to threaten divorce. If he wanted to be divorced from me, he was going to have to file papers. He was going to have to do the whole work. But I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to divorce him, and I wasn't planning on letting this destroy our marriage. But he did have to finish a program. About 14 years ago, I had to go through a program myself, so I knew the value of a rehab program, a faith-based program. So thankfully, through different connections that God placed people in my life, I was able to get the information for Turning Point. I wasn't going to do the hard work for him. I just asked him to call a friend of mine, and he did. And he did give me the runaround like he's waiting on them. But what he didn't know is that I had already known the truth the whole time. So finally he came in, and he didn't have to. And he stayed, and he didn't have to. And he completed it, and he didn't have to. And through this experience, watching him walk through freedom and experiencing God's love, it's given me the husband that I've prayed for all these years. And
She loves me more now. Yes, she does.
I have never been more amazed at what God can do. Between the two of us, we've experienced 22 divorces. And I wasn't going to let his addiction or anything else come in the way of our marriage. But now I'm seeing everything unfold, and it's like, this is it. We're not going to have to, our kids aren't going to have to lose their dad forever. Our kids aren't going to know what divorce is. Our kids aren't going to know what it means to grow up in a home like we grew up in, broken and not having God at the center of it all. And now looking back, it has been the most amazing journey. It's been hard. It has not been easy. But I know that with a little bit of sacrifice and a lot of trust in God, he can do anything when given the opportunity. And he has an opportunity here. I was just talking to a friend last night about how a raving fan I am of the intake counselor here. How my heart just grew with so much love because we worked together as a team. He worked together with me to save my family. And that's the sacrifice that these people here do at Turning Point. They give of themselves, they sacrifice, and for what? So that wives and children like ours can have a head of the household, a leader, come back into the house and do things God's way and be an example of God's love and freedom. And it's amazing. Cool thing now. 14 years ago, I went through drug rehab. My passion has been for people in addiction. And now here we are. I've been on this journey for 14 years with the Lord. And through now my husband getting the opportunity to experience rehab and it be successful, now we are unified. I never knew how God was going to make my dream come true, but really it's had to go through all this just to make it happen. Now we're coming together as a unit that God can use, like-minded, walking together, side by side, and now I'm able to see this dream that's been in my heart for all these years come true. But not only come true with my husband that I love working with, alongside of, and I miss. So I'm thankful for this place. I get to have my husband, I get to have my marriage, my kids get to have their dad, and great things are going to happen.